As you guys know, we have been tracking all the situation very closely, and now that the election hype is over and Bitcoin actually has made a new all-time high, the question now becomes, is the crypto bull run starting? And if it is indeed starting, what stage are we at? Are we at the stage of the parabola where Bitcoin is going to go straight up only? And if that's the case, what's happening to altcoins? Will altcoins start to go parabolic as well and have exponential gains? Or are we still in the period of a slow grind, and are there still risks on the table where people are taking on too much altcoin positions, especially with short-term trading? So that's what we will be discussing today. I'll be looking at the Trump win during the elections and what that means for specific crypto sectors. We see Ethereum and the DeFi sector starting to show some strength again, and we will discuss if this is actually real, or if this is going to happen right away, or if this is something that we should be keeping to monitor but not taking a position yet. I'll also discuss the FOMC that just went down yesterday, and I have already made a quick recap of this, so we'll discuss exactly what happened at this FOMC and whether the Fed has made the balance sheet pivot to quantitative easing yet, and if that will trigger the major alt season. And I will go through my full list of top altcoins I'm watching, specifically the ones that are closely following the trajectory of Bitcoin and are showing early strength. And these are the ones to target should we have this upcoming altcoin season. Okay, so that's on the agenda for today. If you're new here to the channel, welcome. My name is Dennis. I'm a crypto angel investor for the past 6 years, and I have invested in over 100 crypto startups. On this channel, I share views on market trends and investing strategy to build wealth in crypto. Now, before we get started, I just want to show you guys something that we have planned for our community. So as you guys know, we have been running our free trading community called The Coiners on our own application. We have discussion, we have trade setups, we have live stream, we have a mentorship section. We have really tried to make this be as interactive as possible so that you can ask me any questions you want. So at this point, we have over 1,000 members, and it's getting kind of overwhelming. And to be fair, I can't really answer every single question anymore. So we have identified kind of what people really want from this community, and that's why we have proposed a new program called the Coiners Pro. So this is a program that's really meant for a very, very small, tight-knit community. So if you are a trader who trades a large amount of volume, or if you have very high experience level and you just want the real alpha, and you want every single question, every single alpha to be answered, to be discussed with the community instead of asking for, just like, what do you think about this coin, etc. So if that sounds like interesting to you, or if you want to actually contribute, whether it's in trading, in investing, or in even on-chain, if you're a very experienced on-chain trader in our audience, we welcome you to apply to the Pro Trader program. This application right now will only open for 2 weeks, and we are only looking for about 20 people to join this core group. Again, it's still free. We won't be charging you anything. We make all of our money by affiliate revenue from our exchanges, and now we have actually signed up for affiliates on basically all the exchanges. We have Binance, OKX, ByBit, Blofin, KuCoin Gate, Femex, WeX, and Hyperliquid. If you trade on-chain, we have, trading bots. If you trade like on-chain shitcoins, whatever it is, right? We don't want to force you to do anything, but we will work with you. And if you can contribute to this community, then we will give you all of our resources. So that includes things like your own research team from my side and from our content side and from the M6 Lab side. So if you need, tokenomics research or catalyst event research or TA research, we have a team of over 10 people that can help you full time. And we can only do this for a very selective group of people that are pro traders. So if this sounds interesting to you, and if you think you meet this criteria, go to the link in the description, the first one, or go to pro.thecoiners.io. And you will basically just see this very direct outline of what this is. And you can complete the type form here. And right after that, we will check every single response and we will book a call with you directly. I'll be there and I'll talk with you to understand if this is a good fit and invite you to our pro trader group. So very small group, and we're testing this out. This is really something that I think nobody else really offers, but we can only do it for a very small group. Okay, so that's our program show. Now let's get into the specifics of today's episode and a few things I really want to bring you guys attention on. So what has happened this week? Trump won the election, and even on our last live stream back here, I've told people that you should really ignore the election hype. If Trump wins, we're going to get a huge tick up, followed by a mean reversion. And if Kamala wins, we're going to have a sharp drawdown, followed by a mean reversion. So since Trump has won, we did have this strong rally on Bitcoin. Now, I am in the camp to think that this is not like the next weeks and the follow-up is not going to be as strong as the candle we had right here. Right. So over this past week, Bitcoin is effectively up 11%. So you got to digest what's happening here. A lot of people are expecting, since Trump has won, all of his promises to be fulfilled right away, which are very grandiose, right? So we're talking about regulations being passed right away, Gary Gensler being fired and the SEC being reformed. You have DeFi golden season, right? You have ETF huge inflow. You have even, the US establishing a Bitcoin reserve. People think this will happen right away, but in reality, we have covered in this video and also in our elections prediction video. And I've outlined exactly the things that Trump has said that he wants to do when he wins. And TLDR here is that he can only do a very few things that can happen even this year, which is maybe Gary Gensler can be fired within the next few months. But that's about it. All the other things will take much, much longer time frame. Even the regulation, it has been, at this point, 2 years in the making. And Trump does not have the power to force any of these things through right away, even if he wants to support them. So that's why I think people are really expecting a lot. And I think that's driving this demand. And what I'm expecting quite soon is a mean reversion. Now, on the price of Bitcoin, what could that potentially look like? So just consider, right? We have had higher lows since August 5th. And it's undoubtable that this is an uptrend. And even the pre-election video we made right here, we were looking at this higher low here. And I was telling people, okay, anything near the 66 to 67K range for Bitcoin is a buy. It is not a short-term trade, but it is a value buy opportunity on spot. And we did bounce from here. So now a new higher low has been made. The question now becomes, okay, what is our next target? So if you zoom out just a little bit, you see that the all-time high has been broken at 73. And this level actually tested here. And also we had a previous all-time high rejection, very exact, remember. So I would not be chasing this at 77K. This is just completely insane. No matter what happens, you got to consider Bitcoin never shoots up in a vertical line. And we are nowhere close to the end of the bull run where it goes in a parabola. The election is not the key factor to trigger that. So do not FOMO into this. This is, that's goes to without saying. Now, a lot of people think this is going to go straight to 100K. I don't think that's the case. So at the very least, I would like to see a retest of the previous all-time high like this at 73. You got to consider, many people don't even think this is now possible, which is all the more worrying, right? Because what are we looking at here if we get just back down to previous all-time high? It's a 5% drawdown on Bitcoin. That happens literally every couple weeks. Bitcoin has a drawdown of more than 5%. So if you're not prepared for this, you will get rinsed right away. So that's first warning. Second is, even if we come down and get below the previous all-time high, this will still be healthy, because what defines the uptrend? What defines the Bitcoin bull market? And I do agree with everyone that's bullish. I am bullish on Bitcoin as well, and I do believe the uptrend is starting very significantly as we have continued higher lows. But you got to consider the last Bitcoin higher low before the election was at 67. So Bitcoin can have a correction all the way down to 69K, right? And I even say all the way down, but that's only 10% away. If Bitcoin does this today, will you be wrecked? And if you are taking on so much leverage and you cannot afford this to happen, then you got to reconsider what you're doing here. Because even if we get this kind of candle and it just bounces, this will still make a new higher low, and the uptrend would still be there. So you got to be prepared for these scenarios. And more likely than not, what happens with Bitcoin is that it tends to trap breakout traders. So way too many people look at breakout of previous all-time high and they try to buy on the breakout. And even the support resistance traders, a lot of times they get trapped as well, because they set these SR flips way too tight. So they look at the previous all-time high as a resistance, and the next time price comes back down to test it, they think it's going to be a exact support and price has to bounce from 73. More likely than not, what happens is these people get rinsed and their positions get hunted and their stop losses are hit, and we just dip below this level but bounces before reaching the invalidation level. So in my mind, previous all-time high revisit is more likely than not to happen. And I really would not be surprised if we get a retest back down to 70K. This would totally look healthy, considering everything I have said, considering that the promise of Trump, the elections, is not going to have an immediate effect that happens just right away. So that's my first warning, and that's the basis, right? If we see Bitcoin back to 70K, that is a great buying opportunity. And you have to be prepared for that if you're over leveraged right now. So that's my stance on Bitcoin. Now, what happens to altcoins then? We have to consider two things. First, we have the fundamentals. So the fundamental side is that the Federal Reserve has had their last FOMC meeting yesterday on November 7th. And they did issue the same FOMC statement as usual. And guess what they said? The committee will continue reducing its holdings of treasury securities and agency debt and agency mortgage-backed securities. I have tweeted about this right away at 2 p.m. yesterday, right after the announcement. So the digestion of this is that the FOMC did not introduce a balance sheet pivot. So we are still in the quantitative tightening phase of the monetary policy. There is no quantitative easing yet. So you got to hold your horses. This signal did not trigger yesterday. And at least based on my analysis, this means the full-on alt season has not come into effect. And we now, again, have to wait another 40 days until the next FOMC, which happens on December 17th. If I can get the calendar here. Where's the calendar here? Next FOMC is on December 17th, right here. December 17th to 18th is, again, when we have to watch the Fed's announcement for their monetary policy, if they make the QE pivot. If you want the full background of this and why this contributes so significantly to the altcoin performance, you got to check out this video. Altcoin season starts in 1 month. Here's why. So I made the full breakdown of this. Basically, TLDR is that US net liquidity has exactly predicted the last 3 tops and bottoms of the altcoin cycles. And the US net liquidity is directly measuring the US Federal Reserve's balance sheet status. And when they are in a QT cycle, that means they're decreasing their balance sheet, and that usually means altcoins are suffering. And when they start to go into QE, quantitative easing, altcoins start to rally. Now, you can see this very clearly with Bitcoin dominance, with total altcoin market cap chart, with even Ethereum versus BTC chart. All of those fit this same category. Okay, so with that being said, if this signal is correct and I'm following my stance in that we don't have the Fed injecting liquidity yet to trigger the alt season, then you combine that with my current outlook on Bitcoin, which is that a correction to 70K is totally healthy. Then what do we have on the cards? What we have on the cards now is if we get a correction of back down to 70K where we are going down 9% on Bitcoin, what is that going to look like on altcoins for a possibility? Again, I'm not making this prediction. I'm just showing you what you got to be prepared for. And maybe these are dip buying targets that you could go for. So here we go. I have some altcoin charts to show you. So number one, we have Bitcoin dominance. So even though Bitcoin dominance has started to come down a bit, you got to be prepared for Bitcoin dominance to at least continue to trend sideways until the next December 17th, 18th FOMC. This is a total possibility. And this is, in my opinion, already quite good because this means altcoins are performing similarly to Bitcoin. But if this is the scenario, then effectively during this period, by holding Bitcoin, you are beating the market. You are going on par with the market. So this is a total possibility for Bitcoin dominance. And when you look at a chart that represents a similar scenario, and that is the total 3 market cap of altcoins outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I have excluded USDT and USDC, so it excludes stablecoin as well. So when you look at this chart, this is effectively how most altcoins are doing overall. And you see we have had this breakout, but again, remember, breakout trading in crypto usually doesn't work well. A breakout usually signals a new uptrend. However, we do tend to get retests. So what I think could really be happening here over the next month is we have this altcoin breakout. Everyone's super euphoric and they flood into altcoins thinking, everything is going to go parabolic right away. And instead what happens is we get another just kind of retest, right? Back down into this support range for total 3 market cap. And that's talking about the total 3 market cap going from 40 billion down to 500 billion. So that's only 9% away. If this happens and we form, a higher low kind of scenario like this, again, remember we have had higher lows. So if we make another higher low here, that's totally reasonable. And in the grand scheme of things, that this might just take 40 days to play out. So this is something very aggressive, but maybe we get something like this, totally possible, right? So you got to prepare for this kind of scenario. And if this happens, what will that look like? Well, you got to consider, even if the total 3 market cap drops by 9% just as a healthy correction, depending on which kind of altcoins you are positioned in, the volatility could be huge. So maybe if you're positioned in Solana, maybe Solana only has a 10% drawdown when Bitcoin has a 10% drawdown. That's totally fair. So let's look at that. For example, let's say Bitcoin has this, hypothetically, makes a mean reversion to 70K. And Solana, what would that look like, right? So if Solana has a 10% drawdown, that comes right back to this previous resistance right here, the top of this previous range right here. And that means Solana at 180, right? Maybe that's the buying opportunity for you. But consider, we're talking about Solana here. One of the strongest altcoins and highest market cap. If you go down the altcoin market cap list the lower down you go, the more scary it becomes, and the more fluctuation and violent reactions you'll see when Bitcoin makes this mean reversion. So let's take a look here. I'm going to bring up a comparison chart, and I'm going to show you here. Okay, so the background here is that the market really is heavily speculating on altcoins right now, especially with leverage. Everyone is trading altcoins with leverage, and they are they're becoming way too greedy. So you can see that very clearly with how altcoins have been reacting to every Bitcoin's move. So right here, look at this. Okay. So the last time Bitcoin had this drawdown from October 29th to November 4th. On the top side here, we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a 9% drawdown. And look at what happened to Solana. Solana had a 14% drawdown. So you can say that Solana moved 1.5x at the volatility of Bitcoin. And then when you go down the list of market cap rankings, even for some of our favorite altcoins on the channel, again, I want to give people caution to not FOMO into anything, especially with leverage right now. And these could present good buying opportunities. So let's look at Super, my highest conviction bet for gaming. This has been one of the strongest performing altcoins this year. But look at what happens to Super as people are heavily speculating on leverage. When Bitcoin had this last drawdown, I don't know why this chart is like this. When Bitcoin had this 9.5% drawdown pre-election, Super went down 22.5% before recovering all of that. So this is heavily driven by leverage, heavily driven by liquidation. Okay? Similar, you look at things like Aptos. This is one of the coins that I picked up that closely follows the performance of SUI and I think is near its new breakout. But Aptos was down 24% when Bitcoin was down 9.5%. More than a 2x. It's like taking on a 2.5x leverage position on Bitcoin, the kind of volatility. You go down the list, you have similar, right? So some of the other strong altcoins that we have been looking at, Metis was similarly down 24%. You have across the board, right? You have Fantom down 25% when Bitcoin was down 10%. Even for meme coins, right? Meme coins are down even more. So people think meme coins only trade on decentralized exchanges. They don't have volatility to liquidations. But no, that's not the case. For larger meme coins, Popcat, for example, one of people's favorites, right? When Bitcoin was down 9.5%, Popcat was down 32%. This is like taking on a 3.5x leverage on Bitcoin. So ask yourself that. If you are taking on even a 2x position on Popcat, that's equivalent of taking on a 7x position on Bitcoin. So are you comfortable taking on a 7x position on Bitcoin right now as a long? If you are not, then you shouldn't be taking on more than a 2x long position on Popcat. And if you are not comfortable taking on a 2 to 3x leverage position on Bitcoin right now, you shouldn't have any leverage on altcoins across the board, right? Even for Solana, it gets pretty hectic. You probably won't get liquidated or stop hunt on Solana, but still, things are moving quite violently. So this just goes to show you what could happen next. So across the board, these are all strong altcoins that I have in my portfolio. But I just have to caution people that a correction definitely is possible. And if Bitcoin just comes down for another 10%, makes a new higher low at 70K, your favorite altcoins, no matter how strong they are, they could be looking at another 30% drawdown. It's a simple fact because this has happened just 2 weeks ago. So you got to be prepared for that. And that's the caution, okay? So don't get overly hyped up on altcoins We know the fundamentals of the FOMC with the balance sheet pivot. It has not happened, which means the parabolic run for altcoins has not started. You don't have to FOMO in. And if you think Bitcoin has a possibility of correction for 10% from here, then you could easily have better entries on altcoins across the board. Okay, so that's my stance. Now, what am I doing right now? So a couple of things. Number one, the uptrend is here. So this means I don't plan to sell anything. I'm just looking to pick up altcoins and make rotations from altcoins that have already made their run to altcoins that are just starting to run. So I'll show you guys some of my favorites list in a bit. And even though I'm not taking on leverage positions, I do have planned target levels on all of these strong altcoins, which we'll go over in a bit. And if Bitcoin makes this correction, expect your favorite altcoins to give you another 20% down opportunity. Those will come still. We are not in the parabolic phase of the bull run yet. Okay, so with that being said, let's go into some of the more positives, right? I am overall bullish. I hold all of my altcoin positions, and you can check that in my portfolio, which is linked down in the description as well. So you can check it out. We have update logs as well up here. So I will be making more updates probably this week if we do get this kind of rotation opportunity to stronger altcoins. So I'll just show you some of my targets right now. When it comes to altcoins, there are really only a few sectors worth paying attention to. And these I have covered many times already. Gaming, AI, meme coins, RWA, and selective layer ones that have strength. I don't plan on having a large allocation to DeFi just yet. I know people are calling for like early DeFi summer 2.0 kind of thing right now. I want to give people the caveat that you're not going to see those effects play out right away. So let's just go into that right away. What do I think about DeFi right now? And what do I think about Ethereum? So I have a bag in Ethereum. And when you look at Ethereum versus BTC chart, it is showing good bounce right here. But my stance is that until we have the full QE pivot, Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart could easily do something like this, form a double bottom or triple bottom kind of scenario, or something like this, slow grind for higher lows. You got to be prepared for this. And this could easily extend until December, mid-December range when we have the next FOMC. This is kind of what I'm expecting for Ethereum. I don't expect for it to go parabolic like this because there's no catalyst really that has happened yet. So if Ethereum doesn't have a strong rally right away, that means all your favorite DeFi coins on running on ETH will not have these kind of parabola. I know people are already getting big in stuff like Aave, Uniswap, these coins that have governance tokens that could potentially share their revenue soon. I agree with this outlook. I think this will happen eventually. However, you got to consider the timeline of this. So we know that, do we have the thing? Yeah, we know that Trump has his DeFi project called WorldLibertyFi, right? This is his family project, actually a DeFi project that runs on top of Aave, right? So this is the gold paper for his project. And this project directly runs an instance of the Aave v3 protocol. So this is bullish for Aave, yes. But in here, it doesn't say anything about sharing revenue with Aave token holders. It shares revenue with the Aave DAO, right? So this does not contribute to the larger, US regulation for DeFi projects. And the other potentially positive development is coming from Ethena. So Ethena has submitted their own fee switch, very similar to Uniswap, where they plan to distribute fees to Ethena token stakers. So the protocol fees going to the stakers. People really think this could be playing out very soon, but I am kind of on the fence for this because this kind of thing has been proposed for 2 years now by Uniswap. If you just Google Uniswap fee switch, they have made 2 years of discussions on their DAO governance forum. Uniswap fee switch vote, they had a vote this year, they had a vote last year, and they even had just all the design talk in 2022. But none of this ever went through, not because of a technical implementation problem, but it's because of regulation. Until the regulation becomes clear with a clear US bill that says, if you're a DeFi product, you can distribute fees to your token holders, and there's a clear guideline for how you can do it. I don't think these things will happen until that regulation comes. So don't get your hopes up right away. Even though Trump is now in office, and even though he has a DeFi project, this will speed up the process, but it doesn't mean this process will go through this month, next month. This at least will take 6 to 12 months to complete for a real bill to be passed. So that's why I'm not putting DeFi back in the limelight yet. I don't plan to allocate the DeFi right away. I think you're much better off just getting slight exposure to the potential of this through holding Ethereum and through holding RWA altcoins. Because most of these RWA altcoins, they also have crossover to DeFi, and they gain the similar levels of exposure. So for example, Pendo, it has a very close tie to RWA narrative, but also close tie to the yield generating governance tokens narrative. So by holding Pendo, if DeFi pumps, Pendo will pump. If LSD pumps, Pendo will pump. But if it doesn't happen, then Pendo can continue doing their RWA stuff. So there are quite a few altcoins in this category. If you just target RWAs right now, you're still good. I don't think you gotta make a full shift to become a DeFi maximalist. Okay, so that's my stance on DeFi coins, and that's all I'm gonna say about it. I don't plan to pick up any specific, DeFi coin just because of this. So with that being said, let's go back to the popular altcoin narratives that we have been targeting. And gaming, AI, meme coins, RWA, layer ones. So let's just go down the list. And right away, I can show you some gaming coins. First of all, SuperVerse. Very strong rally since this summer, since it had made the bottom. And now that we have this potential mean reversion, if Super gives us this entry opportunity, I think this could be nice. So here we go. This is what I've been looking at on Super. I really wanted to get an entry in this range before. We briefly touched the range at 0.92, but bounced even from the wick. So I don't think this is going to happen again. If we get the Bitcoin mean reversion to 70K, I think what's on the cards potentially is $1 to $1.10 range. So if we get anything like this, this will be great. And this will be right here, the previous consolidation range right here. So Super, always, right? Always looking at buying into the strength of this. And if we get a dip on Super, $1.10 range, this is going to be what I'm going to be targeting. So I haven't covered entries on Super for quite a while because, it's just been up only. But if you know from my portfolio, this is my strongest conviction bet in gaming. And that's why, especially when there's high speculation in the market, that usually gives us entry opportunities when people get caught off guard on a Bitcoin correction. So anywhere, I would say $1.10, even if we can get $1, that'd be really nice. So I would say this box right here, this would be really nice for an entry on Super. And similarly, in the gaming niche, we have a couple more entries that I have introduced on the channel already. And these are specifically fair launch altcoins. Altcoins that launched recently, but they have very strong tokenomics as they don't have vesting to be unlocked very heavily. So we have XBorg, and already you see XBorg have recovered even past the election drawdown. So let's just zoom in to this block right here. Here we go. So if we have anything down to $2.20 range, you see this floor was forming right around $2.20. So if Bitcoin has the 10% drawdown, $2.20, that's going to be what I'm going to target. And similarly, we have SeedWorld. So SeedWorld, I have covered on our fair launch altcoins list. You can go ahead and check that out. So TLDR for these few altcoins is that when you launch an altcoin in a fair launch way, especially only on a decentralized exchange, there will be volatility, but the FDV starting is going to be very low. And this gives a level playing field, which usually means these altcoins will tend to outperform when markets start to recover. Here we have SeedWorld. And if I were to look for an entry on this, 0.68, this looks to be decent support. If we get a break of this support, then we will be looking at lower range on this consolidation box. Bring that up right here. Let's get a shade on this. Here we go. So if we can get anything around the 0.6 cents range, that would be really nice. So one thing that we know on these fair launch coins is that it's going to be driven by community. So there is no centralized exchange. There is no market maker. There is no liquidation to be had. So if the market doesn't correct, you're not going to get huge wicks. But if the market does correct, these are going to bounce the strongest. So I would say right now, if you can wait until at least 0.68, that would be nice. Anything below 0.68 until 0.6, you can all DCA in with 0.55 as stop loss. So this will be, yeah, honestly, this is a very clear uptrend that's already established. Okay, so that's SeedWorld. And the last fair launch altcoin that we have already covered is mETH protocol. This has just been honestly very surprising. So I didn't expect this consolidation to finish so soon. Let me see if I can bring that up here. So when we covered it just 7 days ago, mETH protocol was 2 cents, and already now it's over 3. And it was basically right around this range, November 1st, yeah, right here. So what happened to mETH protocol is this is the third largest LSD protocol now that also includes liquid restaking. So when you think about coins like EigenLayer and sitting on top of EigenLayer's technology, you have Renzo, EtherFi, Puffer, all of that category of altcoins. All of them have heavy VC unlocks and high FDV. The lowest on that list right now is that 350 million market cap. And when you go higher up the list, you have EtherFi still at 1.5 billion, and you have EigenLayer at 3 billion plus FDV. But when you look at a DeFi project on the Ethereum landscape, it's all about total value locked. And mETH protocol, because it's backed by ByBit and backed by BitDAO, which was the precursor to Mantle, so that whole ecosystem has a lot of ETH in their treasury. And that's why their TVL is actually number 3 on all of the liquid restaking protocols now. So this coin right now sits at 165 million FDV. So it's still 2.5x lower than the next competitor up. And these guys really didn't need to raise any money because they have large treasury. They're backed by Mantle. So this contributed to them actually launching this with a fair launch mechanism, listing at a low market cap. Remember, when we covered it, it was below 100 million market cap. And when you consider everything in the liquid restaking sector, there is nothing in this range that has, what are they at now? Like 3 billion TVL and 100 million fully diluted valuation. That is definitely undervalued. So this is another one that honestly, I keep accumulating. And yes, it's up 50% from 2 cents, but it's at 165 million FDV. So you will see some volatility, but in the grand scheme of things, in this sector, this is still going to perform everything else. Similarly, this is why you see on SeedWorld, you see on XBorg, even though these things are up, they are still much better choices than all other high FDV coins that have huge vesting coming up. Yeah, that's why it's kind of, you don't want to treat these as trades. Just continue to accumulate and use these as the as your exposure to these sectors. These fair launch coins, XBorg, XBorg, SeedWorld, and Super, with their 3+ years of circulation, having their strong tokenomics, these are going to give you the best returns when it comes to speculating on a specific sector. And for mETH protocol, honestly, if you're big in DeFi and you think Ethereum is going to go up, the TVL of mETH is going to go up if the price of Ethereum goes up. So yeah, pretty easy hold for me, to be honest. Okay, so that's on mETH. And the other sectors worth mentioning right now. So layer ones, you really don't want to look at things that are too new. If you have a new layer one today, it's totally not worth looking at, because we have a whole category of layer ones and infra projects that launched between 2022 and end of 2023 that have very strong tokenomics and about half of their supply already circulating. And we have covered quite a few of these on our portfolio. So we have Fantom, Caspa, Aptos, Metis, I recently picked up. These are all going to give you, and Near Protocol, these are going to give you some of the best returns because, again, these have strong tokenomics. So out of this list, how should you position yourself for coins to pick up on a dip? Let's go back to the charts here. I really want to see any of these layer ones that have shown strength right now. So what I mean by that is when we had Bitcoin making this pre-election correction from 73,000 to 67, right? This 9%. Which altcoins had that same movement but already have bounced back? Ideally, they have made a new high. If not, they have revisited their pre-election levels. So on my list, the strongest ones right now, so you have Metis, very strong recovery right here. So this right here, this 23% drawdown pre-election is already fully recovered. And now you have the following rally up already 37%. So this is the kind of chart you want to see on a infra project. Layer one, if you have a layer two, sure, but if it's able to do this kind of performance, all the same. So Metis, definitely one to watch. And when you zoom out enough, this is on ByBit. Let's get a fire alarm in the building. Okay. God damn it. Okay. When you zoom out long enough on Metis, what you'll see is it was one of the strongest performers in the Q1 rally of 2024, going from the bottom $11 all the way up to 120. So doing more than a 10x. And what you also want to see is any of these layer one infra projects, if they made this run, you want them to keep most of their gains. So in the case of Metis, went up to 120, came down, but held 30 as the floor and started to go up again in its second rally up. So this is the kind of chart you want to see. And across the board, these are all the infra projects, the kind of performance you want to see. So this is why Metis, even though it's already up quite a bit from $30 bottom, when you zoom out, here's what you're looking at for 1 year. Really doesn't look bad at all. So you have a consistent uptrend that has established since August 5th, similar to what we see with Bitcoin. So extrapolate this, right? You apply it to similar types of layer 1 infra coin setups. You also want to see at least near 50% of the supply being circulating. In this case, Metis has 61%. Already very good tokenomics. Another that I have picked up that is basically the brother of Sui, but I do think it's much better tokenomics than Sui, and that's Aptos. So I know people hate on Aptos, but you just got to consider, right? Sui has about half of the tokens circulating as Aptos. And Aptos today is at 46% of the FDV already circulating. This is getting actually quite healthy. I know people hate on Aptos, calling it a VC coin, but a VC coin at the start doesn't mean it's going to be a VC coin till the end, because you need to know the real token release schedule. So once majority of the tokens have been unlocked, then you're good. Then the coin actually becomes better, because what you want is high amount of circulation. That's the actual metric that matters. So here we have Aptos, and you see Aptos also made this strong recovery. Let's get it on the chart here. Not as strong as Metis, hasn't broken above a new high yet, like pre-election levels. But nonetheless, this drawdown of 20% basically nearly recovered. So this is what you want to see. And these are the coins you want to target should Bitcoin have its correction down, maybe to 70K. So Aptos also on my radar. And all of these, you can apply this similar rule, right? So if Bitcoin has this 10% drawdown, let's say at 9% down to 70K, what you'll see most likely on all the altcoins is a similar type of move like the pre-election move, right? So on Metis, you have a 23% drawdown. You just move that to current level. Boom. You have maybe an entry again at 37, 38 range. This would be really nice. And this will be a very strong value range should this happen. On Aptos, similar, right? You take this measured move, 20% down, you apply that to current. Maybe we can get another entry on Aptos below $8. That would be really nice. Okay. And on the layer 1 list, yeah, we also have Fantom. So Fantom, similar, right? This is the kind of setup I had before, where very significant range here, tests of support, consolidation, test as resistance, test of support. And here, pre-election, it had given us one entry. If Bitcoin has a correction, we could expect a similar type of move measured. So 24% down, you take that, move that to right here, basically the same. So what you could see on Fantom is something like forming a double bottom or ideally a higher low. So you don't want to see lower than 50 cent, but just be prepared if we get below 60 cent. And if you are going to be wrecked, if Fantom goes from 72 cent to 60 cent, like you gotta consider the kind of positions you're taking right now. So I'm not calling for any of these altcoins to be bearish. In fact, I'm actually very bullish on them, and that's why I still have them in my long-term portfolio. But these are potential entry opportunities should they come. So for Fantom, that's something like this would be really nice. Below 60, very good value range. What else? Let's see here. These three honestly have shown the strongest performance in the layer 1 category, having recovered all of their pre-election dump. In the RWA category, you have one that really stands out. And do I have that on the list here? Yeah, you have Axelar. So Axelar, more of an interesting move here. So it had this pre-election dump, 20%. It recovered about, well, it hasn't recovered the whole thing, but the percentage looks large. However, what I really like about Axelar is that if we get anything close to this previous low here made by the pre-election dump, that is at 64 cents. That gives us actually a really good entry because this sits right at the point of control of this, all of this, what do you call this? VPVR, volume, visible range volume profile. So this goes all the way back to the summer highs made in March. So when you consider all of this price range, the highest volume that Axelar has traded at is basically right at this level at 64 cents. So I'm going to make this indicator extend all the way to the right, if I can. No? Oh, here we go. Yeah, the POC sits right at 64 cents. So what the volume, visible range volume profile does, this indicator, and again, we talk about it a lot in our community, this takes all of the trading volume across all of this price action. And how support and resistance levels are formed is very simply the more times that people trade an asset at a specific level, represented by more volume, the higher significance that level will have as a either support or resistance. So in this case, since March, the average level that Axelar has traded the most volume at is exactly at this level, 64 cents, 65 cents. So the fact that we bounced from here already means that if we go here again, let's say Bitcoin has a 10% drawdown or not, right? But if it happens, and if Axelar comes back down to 65, there is going to be a huge amount of confluence. And on average, when you use this indicator and you buy at the POC as a support, this is going to be a very, very strong value range for you. So that's what I'm looking at. If you get an entry at into Axelar at 65 cents, that's going to be a very good long-term range for holding. And you can use all of this uptrend, right? So low here, lower low, higher low, again a new higher low, and you get an entry at 65 cents. You can use this previous higher low at 54 cents as the stop loss. Pretty clear right there. So that's why I really like this setup on Axelar. It's not exactly the strongest coin compared to the layer one sector, but in RWAs, I think this is one of the most interesting right now for an entry into a long-term hold. Okay, and then last sector that we haven't talked about is the memes. So the memes, I still stand on the case of you got to target the large memes. So I watched this interview of Arthur Hayes today with Ran from Crypto Banter. So Arthur Hayes shares a similar, and I talked to Murad before. He also believes in the same thesis, which is the chance of success of investing in a meme coin from the 1 million to 10 million or 10 million to 100 million market cap range is very low. Out of 10,000 meme coins that launch, maybe one of them ever make it onto $100 million market cap. So the chance of that happening is like 0.01%. However, when you have a meme coin that's at 100 million market cap, if you just do some basic fundamentals research, like who's behind this, who's talked about this, you try it out and you look into their community and you look at exchange support for that coin, chances are you can identify pretty strong projects that go from a mid cap to from a 100 million range to a 1 billion, 2 billion range. That is kind of a sweet spot for meme coins. So we have seen this happen on MOG. I've been a big proponent of MOG since, I want to say since this summer-ish. I really studied their community and honestly built up a lot of conviction. And they went from 300 mil to now, I don't even know what it is. It's got to be over $1 billion now. And they just got listed on Binance Perps as well. So things like MOG, with Brett, even Pepe, Popcat, all of these came in the same trajectory. You kind of discover them. They're not an immediate overnight success, but they're all pop up on people's radar in that $100 to $300 million range, and eventually work up to $1 to $2 billion. And that's the sweet spot you want to target to try to find meme coins that have potential. So I have one new meme coin, but I have just straight up some charts I want to show you. So if you want to target Popcat, this is still one of the best ones right now that people still are heavily bidding. Very simple, right? Pre-election dump stopped at $1.20. You can take this measured move on Popcat, 30%, and you overlay that right now. So you could see Popcat potentially at $1.10. Got to be prepared for that. And if that happens, great entry. Similarly on WIF, you have this measured move, right? 27%, similar type of volatility. If we get a Bitcoin correction, you could be looking at WIF entry at $1.80. And that's going to be great, honestly. Very good value range. And my favorite right now has got to be MOG, because MOG just got listed on Binance Perps, right? So if you're not familiar, when a meme coin only lists on Binance Perp, but not Binance Spot right away, what tends to happen is it gets a lot of liquidation and leverage-driven volatility before eventually things calm down and they make it onto Binance Spot listing. So the caliber of MOG is there, but because it just had this Binance Perp listing, you see already, right? These huge wicks are starting to happen. So I think what could really possibly happen is people might be caught off guard with the volatility that could come on the MOG coin. So before this Binance listing, most of this was trading on like tier 2 centralized exchanges. The only one they have big is ByBit. And most of the trading also happens on decentralized exchange, on Uniswap directly. So when you have that led to MOG actually not correcting that much during the pre-election drawdown, right? Even if you consider all of this wick, it was 23% compared to Popcat was down 30%. However, now that it has this perp listing, I think this lower level right here is not safe. I think 17, not safe, because a lot more liquidation, a lot more leverage is going to come into this coin. So I think pretty soon we should get some really juicy entries on MOG. And if we get some wicks driven by Bitcoin liquidation, I would really want to target something like, at least getting this move and then getting that from previous level down to middle of this range here. So something like even 15, that would be really nice. So I think you can, if you're patient, you could get a solid entry, something like 17 to 15 on MOG. And if this happens, I would be loading up, honestly, because this will be heavily liquidation driven, just like what we saw on Popcat. So when Popcat first got listed on Binance Perps, I don't remember exactly when. Let's take a look, actually. Binance Perp listing Popcat. That was August 22nd. Yeah, so you look at August 22nd, right here, had this up move, and then boom, 40% down move on Popcat. But shortly after that, the real rally starts, right? This is when Popcat really became one of the blue chip memes. So similar type of scenario could present itself on MOG. If we get a, where's my MOG? Yeah, if we get an entry like this would be really nice. Let's see. Do I have any other charts? Just wanted to show you guys all of the setups I'm looking at. There's just one more. So there's I say new meme coin, but it's actually the oldest meme coin on this that I have ever talked about. That is this OG Pepecoin. So I'm pretty familiar with this from honestly quite a few OGs in the space that have always been a fan of this. This is starting to pop, and driven by this is a kind of a revival of these older memes. So you should follow my Twitter and check out this thesis that's posted by this Direct FBB4. This is one of the best on-chain analysts and whale account. So he gives the whole history of how this coin started. So TLDR here is, this is the original Pepe that started way, way before the new Pepe. And these guys started around the same time as Dogecoin as a proof of work alternative altcoin before Ethereum, before altcoins were so popular on Ethereum. And in 2022, I want to say, when Pepe launched actually as a result of this original Pepecoin doing a migration to move from their proof of work layer 1, which was like very hard to trade on, to a Ethereum version. So the new Pepe actually front run these guys, the original Pepecoin that had their own chain. So this team actually has much higher technical capabilities and much longer history. So nowadays, I have been familiar with this since beginning of this year. I didn't cover it before because this coin was kind of having a uphill battle because they didn't have exchange listings. It was only trading on decentralized exchanges. But now these guys are starting a major listing cycle. So for meme coins, you just need a few large exchange listings. Gate.io is really good. mETH is good. BitGet is good. If they can land a ByBit, that would make this really much higher caliber because all of a sudden this becomes much more liquid. My original thesis, I always knew the story of this coin, but the reason why I didn't like it over the other Pepe is because the other Pepe is already on Binance. But nowadays, Binance actually does some really weird stuff. They, when you look at the Nero coin, they list like 3 different Neros, and they actually tend to prefer the one that has the longest price history and that is the most organic community. And they actually prefer these CTO community takeover meme coins. So this actually gives the original Pepecoin a stronger narrative to look back on. So I'm starting to study this, and full disclosure, I don't recommend anyone to FOMO into this right now because this is up more than 100% over this past week. A lot of people have been just discovering this now. I think you'll get better entry opportunities on this. So let's just look at the chart really quick. Over the 1-year chart, it looks quite good. Basically, you had a breakout above 6 months sideways trend. And the neckline of this trend has been $3.20 range. And now we're up $4.75. So you don't have to be that breakout trader. Again, you can just be patient. And if we get a recovery, if we get a correction to $3.50 to $3.20, this would be a much better entry. So I haven't put this one in a portfolio yet. If we get a entry opportunity, maybe driven by a Bitcoin correction, I might be allocating half of my main Pepe position into this so that I have split of the two in case this one actually takes over and flips the other one. You don't want to pick your tribes. Honestly, like I know the Pepe meme will be big this cycle and whichever one wins, I just want to be there. So I think that's it's a much safer bet. Just have half of both. Okay, so this one of the new memes actually worth considering, and it fits all my thesis. It has a long history. It has most of the coins in circulation. Now that it has the liquidity from exchanges, what else? What's the other thing? It's actually above that caliber. So it's way above that $300 million mark. These coins are actually worth paying attention to because the chance of them dying is so low. It's much higher probability for this to be a win than low cap memes. Okay, that's the OG Pepecoin. Let's see. Yeah, that's about it. So these are all the altcoins I have on my immediate shortlist to buy on the dip, should the dip come. So just a quick summary. Today, we went over a lot of different altcoins, a lot of different setups. Hopefully this has been helpful. So my TLDR here is this. Don't FOMO into this rally. Has the bull run started? On Bitcoin, the answer is yes. Bitcoin is in a bull run now. The uptrend has been clear since we made higher lows from August 5th, September 5th, and then by the time we made this higher low on October 10th, the uptrend was already very clear. So there's no denying now that Bitcoin will continue trending up. Higher highs and higher lows, they're being made. And this break of all-time high made a new high. So while we have, higher highs and now a new higher high, you got to be prepared if we have another higher low. So that higher low, maybe it comes in at 73, test of previous all-time high, or it could come in at 70, or it can go as low as 68, and that would still show you a higher low. So this is the big warning I want to give people, and that's why I've really framed today's episode to be more about dip buying rather than buying stuff right now. Because as long as you're patient, when this election stuff comes down, people will realize that things are not going to shoot up right away. It's not just going to be up only. That we're not at that phase of the market yet. As long as you're positioned and you have a short list of coins and you're patient, you should get much better entry opportunities. And that goes without saying, don't use too high leverage, because as we've seen before the elections with that pre-election dump, if Bitcoin comes down to even 70K, a lot of these alts are going to drop 20 to 30%, and you got to be prepared for that. So I think that's the biggest takeaway for today. And beyond that, the altcoin season, judging by what happened at the FOMC, we have potentially another 40 days for accumulation for altcoins before the full parabola comes. So you don't have to FOMO in. That's another reason to not FOMO in. Without all that being said, all the list of altcoins that we have mentioned, I'll have timestamps for them. You can go back to each of them and look at my entry targets for them. I mentioned all of these even before Bitcoin made this breakout, so most of them are already in profit. And if you want to track my portfolio, you can go ahead and check that out in the portfolio link in the description. I'm going to be updating this if we get these entry opportunities. And yeah, that's the gist of today's episode. And yeah, last but not least, just want to give another shout out to our community. So if you are an expert trader and you want to discuss whether you have another altcoin that you think fits into the same category of strong performance in a trending narrative and could see a good dip buying opportunity, and you want to share those ideas with us, and if you're an active trader, definitely check out our new Pro Trader program on The Coiners. Go to pro.thecoiners.io. Submit the application form and you will book a call with me directly, and we'll discuss, what you want to see from our research team, and we'll help you out. I'll set up basically with everyone on our Pro Trader list, we actually have one-on-one DMs with you, and all of your questions will be answered. And that's why we can only do this for a very small group of people. So we are only limiting this to top 20 traders or so that qualify. So if this sounds interesting to you, make sure to sign up. Follow me on Twitter. or X at VirtualBacon0x. This is where I drop quick alpha before I make them into these in-depth videos, such as talking about the OG Pepe, talking about Metis, talking about Aptos. I also share like more day-to-day memes, and portfolio updates go out on Twitter right away as well before I make them into monthly update videos. And yeah, join our community on thecoiners.io if you're just looking for a free community that you can trade with, that you can talk to other people with.